Welcome to English Speak Pulse. I'm Danielle, and today we're going to change the way you learn English forever. Because, what if I told you that the best English teacher in the world is not your school, not grammar books, and not even your classroom?
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. And yes, the best way to improve your English fluency is already around you. In your daily life. Every sound you hear, every object you see, every person you talk to. They can all help you speak better English.
Here's the surprising part. Millions of learners study English for years. But when a real conversation happens, they freeze. Why? Because they learn English, but they never live English.
And today, we're going to show you something that most learners never realize. You don't need extra time to learn English. You just need to use your daily time differently.
Every single part of this lesson is connected. One small daily habit can change your fluency forever. Miss even 1 minute, and you'll miss a technique that could make English a natural part of your life.
So ask yourself, are you just studying English? Or are you living English? Stay with us, because what you learn in the next few minutes will completely change the way you speak, think, and understand English. In your real life, daily moments.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So let's start with a goal that I think almost everyone has had at some point. It's that one thought.
I want to speak English fluently.
Exactly. That's the one. And that's our entire launch point for the deep dive today.
It really is. It's the one thing you hear everywhere. And yet, when you look at the data, the desire is there, it's universal, but only a tiny fraction of people who start on that journey actually get to, true fluency.
Right.
And our source material is really clear that the failure isn't about a lack of effort. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of what fluency even is.
Yeah, and more importantly, where it comes from. So our mission today is not to add 3 extra hours of studying to your week.
No.
We're not talking about more grammar books or more vocabulary lists. We're actually challenging this whole assumption that fluency is some kind of academic goal.
Mm-hmm.
What we want to do is transform the hours you already live and unlock all these English opportunities that are just kind of sitting there, dormant in your daily life.
And this is the core idea, the one thing you have to internalize. Fluency doesn't come from studying English. It really doesn't.
Not from the books.
Not from the books, not from verb charts. It comes from using English. You can even think of it as a simple equation. Real fluency equals real consistent use.
I love that. And let's ground this with an analogy right away, because it's really helpful. Think of English as a muscle.
Okay, fine.
If you wanted to get a stronger bicep, you wouldn't spend all your time reading textbooks about, muscle physiology.
No, of course not.
You'd go to the gym and lift weights. You apply tension resistance consistently.
Yeah.
And that is what we have to do with English.
And that tension forces your body to adapt. Your brain is exactly the same. Every single time you decide to use English, to speak, to listen, even just to think, you are lifting a weight. And if you do that every day, those neural pathways, they get stronger, faster, more automatic. If you only do it once a week, they never really solidify.
Okay, so let's jump right into the first big myth that really stops people. And that's this idea that your physical location, where you are in the world, determines your success.
Right, the location myth, I have to move to London, or I need to live in New York to get fluent.
We hear it all the time.
And if that were true, every single person who moves abroad would just automatically become fluent, but we know that doesn't happen.
Not at all.
There are countless people who've lived in the UK or the US for 5-10 years, and they still don't have the confidence to speak without, hesitating.
So why does that happen? Why is that paradox so common? Why does the environment alone not work?
Well, because the environment, it solves one problem, which is exposure, but it doesn't touch the bigger problem, which is psychological. It's fear.
Wow.
When you move somewhere new, the default human thing to do when you're uncomfortable is to retreat. And people create what we call a native bubble.
Okay, so they're physically there, but linguistically they're somewhere else.
Exactly. They only hang out with people from back home. They watch their native news. They read their native website. So their physical world has changed, but their language world hasn't changed one bit.
So they're surrounded by all these chances to lift those English weights, but they're actively avoiding it because they're afraid of being judged or making a mistake.
Precisely. And if you don't engage daily, if you don't force your brain to actually process information in English, that muscle it doesn't grow. The insight here is it's not where you are, it's how you use where you are.
Okay, but that leads us to the really, really good news, right? The paradigm shift, thanks to technology.
A massive one.
You don't need to rely on geography anymore.
Yeah.
You can build a complete English environment, like a 247 bubble, wherever you are, even in a small village.
I mean, that phone in your pocket, it is more powerful for creating immersion than a study abroad program was 15 years ago. It gives you this full, authentic stream of English.
But what's stopping people?
Usually, just one single setting.
And that's where we get really actionable. Let's call it the digital shift. Just think about the language your phone is in right now. If your phone, your computer, if it's all in your native language, you are just throwing away hundreds of tiny learning moments every single day.
Think about all those little interactions. You install an app, check a notification, search for something in the settings.
Use the assistant.
Yeah, you use the assistant. When all that is in your native language, your brain is doing zero work. It's just recognizing things.
Okay, so here's the action step from the sources. Change 3 things right now. First, your system language. Change it to English.
Okay.
Second, change your Google Assistant or Siri to English. And third, change your App Store or Play Store to English.
Now, I know what some people are thinking because it came up in the research. They think, wait, is that risky? What about my banking app or, something important?
That's a totally fair concern. So how do you manage that initial risk, that feeling of discomfort?
You just have to commit for a few days. First of all, you're not going to forget where your apps are. You'll still have the muscle memory. It's just the words will be different. And that difficulty, it really only lasts for 3 to 5 days.
And the goal isn't just to be annoyed for a few days.
No. The goal is first processing. When you have to look up a word like settings or confirm 20 times a day, your brain learns it without you even trying. It's unconscious learning.
So those little moments of frustration, that's the resistance training. That's the weight.
That's the weight. That discomfort is the signal that your brain is building a new connection. You stop translating and you start connecting the function directly to the English word.
It's learning by accident, just by doing things you were going to do anyway. You're not adding steady time. You're reclaiming screen time.
Exactly. So once the phone is sorted, we need to look at all that other time, the unclaimed time in your life.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, the time when your hands are busy but your brain is free. Cleaning the house, waiting in line, on the bus, going for a walk.
All right, mind drifting time.
That time has to become English time. You don't need more hours in the day. You just need what we call the simple swap strategy.
Okay, let's break that down. The sources detail 4 main swaps. Let's go through them and, what the actual benefit is for each one.
The first swap is for listening. You trade your native music for English songs, but, and this is the key part, you listen with the lyrics open.
Why with the lyrics?
Because it trains your ear on phonetic linking. Music forces your brain to connect specific sounds to specific written words. It helps your accent and your listening skills way faster than just listening to people talk.
Okay, that makes sense. You're getting the sound and the text at the same time. What about the second swap for viewing?
So you take all those random videos you watch when you're bored?
The doom scrolling videos.
Yeah, the doom scrolling videos on YouTube or TikTok, and you replace them with English-speaking content. And I don't mean boring educational stuff. I mean people talking about hobbies, cooking, whatever you're into. The benefit there is you get exposed to real fast conversational speech. You learn the rhythm, the filler words, the way people actually talk.
Things a textbook will never teach you. And the third swap is the social media feed itself, right?
Yes. Unfollow the native language pages, influencers, news sites, and just fill your feed with English content. This gives you instant access to natural current vocabulary. Slang.
So you're learning relevant language.
Totally relevant. It's low effort, it's high context, and it makes the vocabulary just stick in your brain.
And the last one, for the commute. The silent moments.
Swap that silence or your usual music for an English podcast or an audiobook. Now, this one is a bit different. It forces sustained comprehension.
How so?
Because when you're focused on driving or walking, your conscious mind is busy. It lets your subconscious do the heavy lifting on understanding the language. You're basically forcing yourself to think and process in English for a long period.
And the beauty of all these swaps is that it follows that rule we set up at the start.
Saturate the input first.
Exactly. You're flooding your brain with English, just like a baby listens for a year before it even tries to speak.
So once that input system is saturated, then we can move to the final stage. And this is maybe the most important one. It's production, but in a safe, internal way.
Okay, so this starts with the thinking shift, breaking that habit of translating in your head.
Yes, that's the killer of fluency, that 3-step process. You see a share, you think the word in your language, then you remember the English word. It's too slow.
So what's the bypass?
You practice direct association. Look around you right now. Screen, bottle, curtains, ceiling. Just name them in English instantly. You're training your brain to skip that middle translation step.
And once you're doing that, there's the one tip that the sources say accelerates fluency more than almost anything, and that is self-talk.
It might sound a little strange.
It does sound a bit weird.
But you have to actively talk to yourself in English. Its power is that it's completely safe. There is zero fear, zero judgment, just 100% progress.
So you're practicing sentence structure, vocabulary, everything with no pressure.
And it's so easy to do. Just narrate your life. When you're making coffee, I'm boiling the water. I need to add some sugar. Where are my keys?
Or getting ready for bed. I'm so tired. I have to set my alarm. I hope it's sunny tomorrow.
The goal is just consistency. It doesn't have to be perfect. You are simulating a conversation. And if you find you can't describe what you're doing, you've just found a vocabulary gap. You can look it up right then. It's real-time, personalized learning.
Okay, so you pair that self-talk with the last piece of this puzzle, which is the daily writing habit. Before you sleep, you write just 5 lines in English.
Just 5. It's so low barrier, it stops you from getting overwhelmed and quitting. And those 5 lines should cover 3 things: what you did today, what you learned, and what you want to improve.
And what's the promise there? What does that short daily habit actually do?
The sources are confident on this. Do it for just 30 days, and your speaking confidence will, they say, effectively double.
Double. That sounds like a lot.
It's not hyperbole, though. When you force your brain to structure thoughts in English every single day, in your self-talk and your writing, you start to automate the basic sentence patterns.
So the structure for I did this or I need that is just, it's already there.
It's built and ready to go. So when you talk to someone, you're not building the sentence from scratch. You're just pulling it out. You skip the hesitation.
And that automation, I mean, that's the definition of fluency, isn't it? It's moving from conscious effort to just automatic retrieval.
Absolutely. So the big takeaway today is that fluency is not some finish line at the end of a long academic road. It's a daily lifestyle.
You don't need to quit your job or move, just small habits every day, using the time and the tools you already have. That's what leads to the huge transformation.
The books give you the knowledge, the rules, but your life, the choices you make on your commute, on your phone, inside your own head, that's what gives you fluency.
Which brings us to our final thought. We've talked about getting rid of that translation step.
Yeah.
But the next level, the real goal, is to start thinking directly in English.
Right. Your goal is to go from thinking in native language, translating, speaking, to just thinking in English, just speaking English.
And that transition is the real difference between slow, choppy English and true, confident fluency. So as you finish up with us today, just think, which one of those digital settings or simple swaps are you going to make right now to start building that muscle?
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're cutting straight to the chase.
We are.
We're digging into a really fascinating collection of sources about something called the brain rewire strategy.
And the mission here is, I think, very transformative, but also very simple.
Right. We're looking at the one habit change that could make you sound more fluent, more confident, and just, more natural in English.
And the best part, it doesn't mean you need to add hours of study time or hire an expensive tutor.
Exactly. This is for the person who already knows a lot of English but feels stuck.
If you've ever had that frustrating pause, that hesitation before you speak, the sources all agree on one thing.
What's that?
The problem isn't your knowledge. It's your mental system. It's like the internal plumbing is just, it's out of date.
Okay, so let's do the big reveal right up front then.
Yeah.
The single thing you have to change starting today for that faster fluency is, Well, it's this.
Stop translating.
Yes. You have to start thinking directly in English.
The sources are really unequivocal on this. They call translation the biggest fluency killer.
The biggest fluency killer. That's a strong statement.
It is. And we really need to unpack why that is, because when you understand the mechanism, that's the key to, defeating it.
Okay, let's do that. If translation is the enemy, what is actually happening in our brains when we fall into that trap? What's causing that slowness?
It's a slow 4-step mental process that just kills any kind of spontaneity.
Or steps.
Right. So step 1, your brain thinks up the full sentence in your native language.
Okay.
Step 2, it then has to search for the right English words to match that idea.
The word for word matching.
Exactly. Then step 3, and this is where the real delay hits, your brain does this mandatory grammar check.
Making sure everything is perfect.
Right. Is the structure right? Is the tense right?
Yeah.
And only after all that, step 4, do you actually speak.
Wow. I mean, just describing it sounds exhausting, but hold on. Couldn't you argue that translating perfectly, even if it's slow, is better than just speaking badly, but quickly?
That's a great question. And the sources argue that the cost of that delay is just too high.
Why?
Because that 4-step process is why you sound so hesitant and unsure. By the time your perfectly translated sentence is ready.
The conversation has moved on.
Exactly. The moment is gone. You miss your chance to contribute. So you're basically sacrificing real-time participation for this idea of academic perfection.
I see. So the problem is latency, not capability. And that brings up this distinction the sources make between two kinds of speakers.
Yes. You have the person who says, I know English. They can ace a grammar test, but they're still translating inside their head.
And the other kind?
The person who says, I live English.
I live English. I like that.
That person bypasses that whole translation filter. They just jump straight from a thought to speaking in English. And that one habit, that's the bridge between just knowing words and truly living the language.
Which brings us to the strategy itself, the brain rewire strategy. But we have to acknowledge this is hard.
It is.
Our native language is comfortable. Our brain is wired to choose the path of least resistance, right?
That is the big hurdle. Every time you try to speak English, your brain just defaults back to what's easy. It says, hey, let's just think in our language first.
But easier doesn't mean fluent.
Not at all. If you want fluency, you have to push through that initial discomfort.
So the mission is to make English the new default setting in your mind.
It's like training a muscle. It hurts at first, but then it becomes automatic.
And the strategy the sources outline is, frankly, genius because it doesn't ask you to force it with huge study blocks.
That's the core insight. You don't force English. You feed English to your brain.
Feed it? How?
You feed it so much, so consistently, that your brain has, and I'm quoting here, no option but to think in English.
So it's like a constant internal immersion program.
24 hours a day, you're just changing how your mind talks to itself.
And the best part is, you can start this right now. You don't need a teacher, you don't need extra homework, you just change those little conversations happening inside your own head.
It's a total mind hack. So let's get into the actionable steps. These 5 mini habits are designed to interrupt that native language default.
Okay, let's dive in. Mini habit number 1. Name everything around you in English.
The action could not be simpler. Just
look
around you, wherever you are right now. Name everything you see in English.
But the key here is don't translate.
That is the critical instruction. Don't think the word in your language first. Just see the object and label it in English.
So we're talking about basic things. My phone, the table, a water bottle.
Your bed, the door, your keys.
And the sources say to do this for just 30 seconds a day.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's so low effort. But you are actively training your brain to see the world in English. You're building these direct visual links.
Okay, that makes sense. So what's mini habit number 2?
This one is described as one of the fastest fluency boosters out there. Describe your actions while you're doing them.
You mean like narrate my life?
Pretty much. Either out loud or just in your head. It's the running monologue of your present moment.
Give me some examples.
Think about all those little things you do. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm washing the dishes. I'm checking my messages.
I'm cooking dinner.
Exactly. What this does is it forces your mouth and your brain to work together in real time. You're not searching for words because the action and the description are happening at the same time.
So you're linking the action directly to the English phrase, bypassing that whole translation step.
Precisely. And from there, mini habit 3 moves us naturally into the past.
Which is, talk about what just happened.
This is basically past tense practice without the boring grammar books.
Because it's real. It's relevant to what you just did 5 minutes ago.
Right. Simple sentences about recent events. I forgot my charger. I missed the bus.
I cooked lunch. I met my friend.
Yes. This is real, daily, practical English. It just normalizes using the past tense through simple repetition.
And following that logical flow of time, mini habit 4 must be about the future.
Say what you will do next. You make English a part of your planning process.
So right now, I could think, I will make tea after this.
I will call mom. I will finish this work. I will go to sleep soon. The future tense becomes natural because it's tied to your immediate real plans.
Okay, which brings us to the 5th and, I imagine, the most challenging mini habit.
It definitely requires the most conscious effort. Avoid your native language for simple thoughts.
This is the hard one. This is about intercepting those automatic thoughts.
It is. It requires real vigilance to stop that comfortable native thought pattern in its tracks.
The sources give some really clear examples of this switch. We have to kind of force the change.
Let's use their exact examples. So if a thought pops into your head in Hindi, like,
You have to stop yourself.
and you immediately override it and force yourself to think, it's hot. It's a literal redirection of your mental traffic.
Or another one they give is coffee koji.
The immediate mental correction has to be, I lost my coffee.
That switch from the small native thought to the small English sentence, that's what triggers the big change over time.
It's the difference between occasionally speaking English and actually living inside the English language.
Okay, so this is where we get into the practice, the power tips, and the timeline. The sources have a great little exercise to show you how simple this can be.
Yes, and this is for you, the listener, to do right now. Just take a moment, and in simple English, answer these questions for yourself. Who did you meet today? What did you eat?
Where are you sitting? How do you feel?
And your answers can be so simple. They don't need to be complex sentences.
Right. I met my cousin. I ate biryani. I'm on the sofa. I feel tired.
The sources really stress this. Simple, correct sentences used consistently every single day are the real engine of fluency.
We tend to overcomplicate it.
We do. And if you hit a wall, if that native thought just keeps topping up, there's a rescue tip.
The 5-second rule, how does that apply here?
Whenever a thought shows up in your native language, you give yourself a 5-second deadline to translate it in your mind.
A self-imposed deadline.
Yes, it prevents your brain from getting too comfortable and relaxing back into your native language.
So if I'm thinking, I need to remember my umbrella, in my language, I have 5 seconds to rephrase it in English.
Exactly. And here's the crucial part. If you don't know the word for umbrella, or the grammar isn't perfect, do not stop.
Just guess something close and move on.
Move on. The consistency of making that mental switch is so much more important than the perfection of every sentence.
So the goal is consistent forward motion, not immediate, flawless English.
That's the belief that powers this entire strategy. And when you look at the timeline they provide, it's really motivational.
But it's also realistic, right? It acknowledges that it will be tough at first.
Very realistic. In the beginning, your brain will resist. You will forget. That's totally normal. You'll keep translating out of habit.
But if you stick with it, what happens after, say, a week?
After just 7 days, the sources suggest your thoughts will start switching over automatically. That barrier starts to weaken.
Without you even trying so hard.
And after 21 days, just 3 weeks, your brain will actually start picking English faster than your native language for your internal thoughts.
The default has actually shifted.
It is fundamentally shifted. And the big payoff, after 60 days, people will start to notice.
They'll start asking you, how did your English get so natural all of a sudden?
Because fluency doesn't start from the tongue. It starts from the mind. That internal shift is what changes everything. You move from knowing English to living English.
So that's our deep dive into the brain rewire strategy. We've covered why translation is the killer, why you need to feed your brain English, and those 5 mini habits you can start today.
And the relevance here is so clear. If you feel stuck, it's probably not because you don't know enough grammar.
It's because your inner conversation hasn't caught up with what you already know. So we'll leave you with one final task, the listener challenge, straight from the sources. Today, just do one small thing.
Talk to yourself in English for 2 minutes.
That's it. 2 minutes. It can be about anything. Your day, your plans, your feelings. Don't worry about it being perfect.
Use those mini habits we talked about. Name some objects you see. Describe what you just did. Plan your next action. Just make English the sound of your own mind for 120 seconds.
Because that simple act, that is how English becomes your inner voice. That's how fluency truly begins, by reclaiming the conversation happening inside your own head. So, what will your first 2 minutes sound like? We hope this deep dive helps you find out.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating stack of research.
All focused on one big question, really.
Exactly. How do you accelerate the path to genuine language fluency? And we're looking specifically at English.
Right.
So if you spent years, studying, reading, listening, maybe even mastering grammar, but you still hit a wall when it comes to confident daily speaking,
Then this deep dive is for you.
Yeah.
Our mission today is very targeted. We're pulling out the actionable steps that let you shift from being an English student to becoming an English speaker.
And it all starts with a core truth, one that was just, everywhere in the sources we looked at.
It's a non-negotiable truth.
Okay, so let's unpack it. What's the foundational premise here?
It's stark, but it's essential. You cannot become a confident speaker without speaking.
Simple as that.
Yeah. Fluency is not something you just acquire passively. It's a muscle. You have to develop it actively.
So no matter how many vocabulary lists you memorize.
Exactly. If your mouth doesn't practice, your fluency just doesn't grow. Speaking isn't the final step. It's the daily step you have to take right now.
That concept, though, it really hits a nerve.
Yeah.
Because it immediately brings up all those mental barriers.
Oh, absolutely.
You want to speak, but the fear of judgment, the shyness, the anxiety about making a mistake.
Yeah.
It can feel, overwhelming.
And the material acknowledges that. These are completely natural psychological hurdles. Everyone feels them.
So it's not about lacking vocabulary.
Not really. It's about fearing, what if they laugh? Or what if I look foolish? That's the real hurdle.
So if the fear is real, the solution has to be a pretty profound mindset shift. How do the sources tell us to choose action over that anxiety?
They frame it as a crucial binary choice you have to make every single day.
Okay.
You have to decide that your dream of speaking confidently is bigger, that it's more important than your fear of some temporary embarrassment.
You have to choose growth, not embarrassment.
That's it.
I think a lot of learners are waiting until their English is perfect before they'll speak confidently.
And that's the trap.
They see confidence as the thing that has to come before the action.
Exactly. And it's the other way around. Confidence is the result of action, not the cause. It doesn't come from speaking perfect English.
It comes from speaking even when it's imperfect.
Yes. Every single person you admire who speaks fluently today is just someone who was brave enough to make 100 mistakes yesterday.
So if we accept that, then we have to redefine what the real enemy is here. And it's not what you'd think. It's not the mistake itself.
Not at all. Mistakes are just data points. They show you where to adjust. They're essential for learning.
The real enemy is.
The enemy is silence.
Wow.
Silence is the guarantee that you stay stuck exactly where you are. Think of it like a physical skill. You wouldn't wait until your muscles are perfect before you try to run, would you?
No, of course not.
If you stay silent, that fear muscle just gets stronger.
That's a powerful way to put it. But let's talk about that fear of judgment, because it's deep-seated. I mean, what if I'm in a professional setting? My accuracy does matter there.
That's a great point, and the research distinguishes between those two things. There's high-stakes communication, like job interviews, and then there's daily fluency building.
Okay.
For daily building, here's the secret. Most people barely notice minor grammar mistakes. They only care about understanding your meaning.
They're not sitting there with a red pen.
Precisely. And almost universally, people respect the effort. They admire someone who's trying, even with a few stumbles.
So when we stop obsessing over being judged and just focus on being understood,
The pressure just drops instantly.
so for you listening, the choice is clear. Speak and make mistakes, and you learn. Stay silent, and you stay stuck.
Exactly. The movement is the cure. We have to shift from being a passive dreamer to an active doer.
All right, so let's make that transition. We've got the mindset shift. Now, let's talk about immediate practical action. If fear is the big issue, we need tiny actions, right?
The smallest possible actions. Your first goal has to be incredibly small and achievable. Talk to a real human, even for just 10 seconds.
Micro speaking.
Micro-speaking. You don't need a 20-minute discussion. You don't need to check a grammar book. You just need one small win.
I found the examples here so helpful because they show you that these opportunities are all around you. You're just not seeing them.
Think about your normal day. You're at a shop. Forget complicated topics. Just practice. Do you have this in a smaller size?
Or, can I pay by card?
Exactly. Or at a restaurant, I'd like the chicken biryani, please.
Can I see the dessert menu?
Simple transactional language. Asking for help is another great one.
Where is the nearest bus stop?
Or what time does the library close today? These little interactions break the ice, they break the fear, because the exchange is finite. It's expected.
And that's where the compounding effect comes in.
Yes. Every single time you use English in a real setting, even for just 10 seconds, two things happen. Your fear shrinks a little, and your confidence grows a little.
One short line can permanently change your fluency.
It chips away at that barrier.
Now, what if you genuinely don't have those public opportunities? Or the fear of talking to strangers is still just too high?
This is critical for consistency. Find a friend, a roommate, a family member who's also learning English.
A practice partner.
A practice partner. This costs zero money, zero external effort. The advice is to set a simple English-only rule for just 10 minutes a day.
And the great thing is, what you talk about doesn't even matter.
No. Talk about your dinner, your weekend plans, something funny you saw online.
And the rules for those 10 minutes are crucial.
Absolutely. Zero grammar checking, zero judging. The only goal is activating the mouth muscles and getting your brain to access vocabulary quickly.
It's about speed and endurance, not perfection.
Exactly.
And this is where the math really shows the difference between dreamers and doers. Let's crunch the numbers on that 10-minute habit.
Okay, so if you commit to 10 minutes of English talk for, say, 300 days a year, that's 3,000 minutes of active speaking practice.
3,000 minutes? That's actually staggering for such a small commitment.
It works out to 50 hours of real, live conversational practice.
Wow.
That's like flying from London to Tokyo and back again, just by talking for 10 minutes a day. That's why consistency, even in microdoses, is the whole game.
So that's the foundation. Now that we have the consistency, let's talk about improving the quality of that speaking. Let's get into the hidden tools and techniques.
What's so fascinating here is how technology gives us these low-pressure solutions for high-anxiety problems.
Right.
For anyone who still finds face-to-face talk too daunting, the sources strongly recommend using voice messages.
So using something like WhatsApp or Telegram to send short voice notes in English, why is that so effective?
It lets you speak without the pressure of a live, immediate response. It's asynchronous.
So you can think about what you want to say.
You can even re-record it if you stumble, which is a powerful self-correction tool. And you get to hear your own voice, track your own improvement, all while having a real conversation with a friend.
The advice is just to send one a day.
Just one. It's a bridge.
That addresses the anxiety so well. Okay, let's move to a more intensive technique, the shadowing technique. The sources call this a big transformation habit.
Shadowing is a core method for mastering prosody.
The rhythm and melody of the language.
Exactly. So you watch a short English interview, a vlogger, a movie clip, and you pause for just a couple seconds and immediately repeat the line.
And it's not just about repeating the words, is it?
No, it's a full package training. You try to match everything, the tone, the speed, the emotion, the pronunciation.
You try to mimic the entire delivery.
It activates the mirror neurons in your brain, training your mouth and your vocal cords to produce natural English rhythm. It feels a bit funny at first.
I can imagine.
But the results in your conversational flow are transformative. It stops your speech from sounding so robotic and, translated.
Speaking of sounding translated, one of the biggest signs of a student versus a speaker is using literal words instead of ready-made expressions.
This is a fundamental point. Fluent speakers don't translate word for word. They use smart phrases.
Collocations, idioms.
Exactly. Native shortcuts. Fluency is less about your vocabulary count and more about having quick access to these pre-packaged phrases.
Let's run through some of the contrast the research highlighted. These really make a difference.
Okay, so think about communication breakdowns. Instead of the blunt, "Repeat, please."
You should say,
Sorry, could you say that again? It's softer, more natural. Similarly, instead of a sharp "what?"
you learn to say, sorry, I didn't catch that.
It's a massive difference in a social context, isn't it?
Huge.
And if you just don't get the idea, instead of "I don't understand," which can sound a bit final.
Try.
Can you explain that in another way? Using these simple phrases just eliminates that clumsy, translated feeling from your speech. You sound so much smoother.
So finally, we need a method to speak for longer. It's one thing to order food, it's another to explain why you like it. The material gives us the 3W method.
The 3W method is brilliant. It forces you, in real time, to add supporting details by including what, when, and why.
You never give a single word answer again.
Never. So if someone asks, what's your hobby? The wrong answer is just cricket.
Right.
A better answer is, I love playing cricket.
Yeah.
I play every Sunday when. It makes me feel active and happy. Why?
You've turned one word into a full, interesting answer.
Let's take another one. What did you watch recently? Instead of just the movie title.
Use the 3 W's.
I watched the new action movie, Extraction 3.
Yeah.
What? I saw it last night with my roommates. When? I recommend it because the special effects were incredible.
Why? The goal is just to add one more sentence than you did before.
That's it. Small extension, big improvement.
So when we connect all this, the mindset, the small actions, the quality techniques, what's the final confidence formula that should guide us?
The whole journey, it sort of contradicts common sense. You have to be a speaker first. Confidence is the result, not the investment.
Okay, so what's the process?
It looks like this. You speak, which naturally leads to mistakes, which accelerates your learning, which causes improvement.
And only then.
Only then do you generate real confidence. If you're waiting to feel confident before you try, you'll be waiting forever.
That's the challenge for everyone listening then. Retire the student identity, adopt the speaker identity.
Absolutely. We're issuing the Daily Speaking Challenge. Starting today, you must speak English to someone.
A shopkeeper, a friend, a voice night.
Even ordering food. Every single day, even if it's just for 20 seconds.
And what can someone realistically expect to notice after 30 days of doing this?
The payoffs are tangible. You'll notice words come to your mind faster. Your sentences will feel smoother.
Will stop translating in your head so much?
Yes, and crucially, your fear will get weaker. You might even find you enjoy speaking.
You're becoming a speaker, not just a student of English.
That's the entire point. You are shifting the whole operational system of your relationship with the language.
And the final thought from all this research is?
English is a conversation language. It lives in your voice, in your breath, in the rhythm of speaking. It doesn't live in your notebook.
So speak anyway.
Speak anyway, even if it's imperfect, even if you're nervous, even if others seem miles ahead.
The more you speak, the more fluent you become.
That is the simple, unavoidable truth. If your English learning experience feels, stuck somewhere between being technically correct and actually sounding fluent, if you feel like you speak like a perfect, maybe slightly robotic textbook, then you're definitely in the right place. We are doing a deep dive today, and we're not going to be talking about memorizing grammar tables. We're talking about how to install the software for native-like fluency directly into your brain using the media you probably already enjoy. So our mission here is to give you a comprehensive, really actionable blueprint that can shortcut what can feel like a decades-long process of immersion. We've looked at the research, and we're focusing on the crucial elements that traditional education often misses entirely: the rhythm, the emotion, the timing, and all those real-life expressions that make you sound like a real person.
And that emphasis on real is so important. It's the core philosophy here. The fundamental mistake, the one we see over and over, is relying only on books and classroom exercises. Now, books are essential for teaching you the rules, but you have to remember this. People don't speak by recalling a rule book. They speak naturally, intuitively, and, well, often messily. So to produce natural English, you must consciously and consistently consume natural English. We really need to define what real English means for this deep dive. It's so much more than just a big vocabulary and perfect grammar. It's the syncopation, the stress patterns, the emotion you hear in a sarcastic comment. It's the timing of a joke and all those rapid-fire expressions you find in movies and interviews and just, in daily conversations. Media is really the only tool that gives you this kind of real-world exposure at scale.
Okay, let's unpack that blueprint. We can start with what seems like the simplest and most powerful entry point: podcasts. The sources show they are absolutely the easiest way to start training your ear. And the benefits are, well, they're pretty obvious. They deliver genuine conversational English, you get exposed to all sorts of accents, and they're so flexible. You can be learning while you're cooking, or on your commute, or at the gym. Your brain is just absorbing patterns passively.
Right. But if you're listening to fast native speech and feeling totally overwhelmed, you're hitting the exact point where so many learners just quit. And here is the critical insight. Understanding 100% of what's being said is not the goal. In fact, if you understand everything, the content is probably too easy for you. You're not really challenging your brain.
Wait, I want to zero in on that. Why is 100% comprehension a bad thing? Wouldn't a learner feel more confident if they understood every single word?
Confidence? Maybe. But not growth. Not growth toward what we call automaticity. The research suggests aiming for about 40 to 50% comprehension is actually optimal at the start. When you only understand half, your brain is forced into detective mode. It stops trying to translate word for word and starts looking for patterns, context clues, connecting the words it does know to the emotional arc of the conversation. And this is exactly how children learn language. They absorb the patterns long before they grasp every single detail. It forces your brain to build that database of meaning directly, and it bypasses your native language. So the progression should be a structured climb. You start with, say, English learning podcasts or maybe simple storytelling formats. Once you feel comfortable hitting that 40 to 50% mark, you start to switch to more advanced material, maybe simple interview shows, then later more complex topics like history or science documentaries.
You know, I found a fascinating claim in the material that really stood out. It's the idea that if your ear can successfully process fast, natural English, your mouth will automatically improve. Can you explain that? What's the neurological basis for that claim? Why does listening directly translate into better speaking?
It's all about building a robust internal linguistic map. When you have to speak quickly, your brain doesn't have time to go find a rule and translate from your native language. That's the very definition of stilted, slow speech. The goal isn't translation, it's recall. Constant fast listening builds a massive, accessible database of natural phrases, grammar structures, and intonation patterns. So when you need to express an idea, your brain doesn't build a sentence from scratch. It retrieves a pre-built structure that it stored while you were listening. If the input is fast and native, the output will automatically start to become fast and native. It's the only database your brain has to pull from. And that's why matching your content to your level is so critical. If you're a beginner, you stick to simple things, kids' stories, slow news reports. Intermediate learners, you're ready for sitcoms. Think Friends or The Big Bang Theory, where the visual context makes everything clearer. And if you're advanced, that's when you challenge yourself with dense content, academic lectures, fast-paced business podcasts, documentaries with specialized language.
Okay, so once we've built that foundational database through listening, we need to actively push that information out. And that's where visual media like movies and TV series become, well, indispensable. Let's talk about them as the best fluency classroom. They're critical for teaching emotional language, sarcasm, humor, all the things audio alone can't really convey. Just think about the gap between textbook English and how people actually talk. The textbook teaches you to say, I do not comprehend what you are saying. But what do you actually hear in a movie? You hear, I'm totally lost. What do you mean exactly? Or maybe just, come again? These are subtle, but they're crucial shifts, and you can only learn them from contextual media.
Precisely. We have to stop seeing movies as just entertainment and start seeing them as rigorous training sessions. The sources lay out a really powerful 5-step movie training method. It's designed to move language from just recognition to actual production. Step 1, watch a short scene, say 35 minutes, just normally. No subtitles. Get the context. Step 2, watch that exact same scene again, but this time with English subtitles on. Pay attention to how the written words map to the sounds. Step 3 is where the hard work starts. You pause the video and repeat the lines aloud. You try to match the speaker's tone, their timing. Step 4, write down just 2 or 3 useful expressions from that scene. Not every word you don't know, just the most actionable, reusable phrases. Why only 2 or 3? Because cognitive science shows that if you try to learn 20 phrases at once, you'll retain almost nothing, quality over quantity. And step 5, you use those expressions during your day. Even if you're just talking to yourself, this forces them into your active memory.
That sounds incredibly intensive, especially if you apply it to every scene. Are we risking a kind of mental overload here, or is that focused intensity the entire point?
The intensity is the point.
Yeah.
Because you're using the context of the scene, the facial expressions, the setting, the character relationships, to attach meaning to the phrases. It creates a much stronger memory trace than just, looking at flashcards. And remember, you're not doing this for the whole film. You're just dedicating maybe 10 minutes a day to one scene. It's concentrated effort, not continuous.
And the physical partner to that method is the shadowing technique, which is just incredible. This is where you listen to a line and then you copy the speaker exactly. You have to obsessively match their speed, their emotion, the way their mouth moves, the rise and fall of their tone. So why is mimicking the mouth movement and emotions so important? Isn't just repeating the words enough for good pronunciation?
That's a great question, and it's a crucial distinction. Standard repetition might get you the right sound, sure. But shadowing builds articulatory muscle memory. English has sounds, phonemes that might not even exist in your native language. And these sounds require specific stress and mouth positions. When you mimic the speaker's emotion and speed, you are physically training your mouth and your tongue to move in the way native speakers do. You're building a seamless flow, correct word stress. You're essentially bypassing analysis and just training the physical act of speaking. And the experts confirm, even just 10 minutes a day of intense shadowing brings massive improvements in your accent and flow within weeks. Look, I know it feels awkward at first. You might feel silly, like you're an actor in a bad play or something. But you have to embrace that awkwardness. Fluency, especially early on, is a form of acting. You're borrowing a persona, a pattern. But eventually, those borrowed patterns become a natural part of your own speaking style, and that foreign feeling just disappears. Now, transitioning to the digital world, we have to talk about YouTube. It is the most powerful free teacher on the planet, period. It delivers the English you need for today's world. We're talking about real-life tutorials, street interviews, travel vlogs, tech reviews, comedy skits. This content is natural, it's fast, it's visual, and it's just filled with common slang and conversational expressions. It's the complete opposite of boring textbook language.
And this is where content selection really matters. To get the most out of it, the sources suggest prioritizing native English vloggers and tech reviewers, but also, and this is fascinating, motivational speakers and comedy. The reason for that is they are critical for absorbing slang, for understanding the nuance of intonation, and for learning how real people respond emotionally in, high-energy situations.
And we can even leverage the most distracted forms of media. This is what we call the micro-exposure method, using social media. You can turn that otherwise wasted scrolling time into real linguistic input. Follow English meme pages, short storytelling accounts, or newsreels. Even if each clip is only 20 seconds, your brain is collecting hundreds of English patterns every day. To make this practical, we suggest you implement what we call the 10-to-1 rule for short-form video. For every 10 short videos you watch in your native language, you just have to watch one English short. That simple ratio ensures you're getting continuous, low-effort input throughout the day, and it guarantees that within a month, you'll start recognizing and even thinking in common English phrases automatically.
This brings us to a really fundamental concept, one that often separates the high-speed learners from those who just kind of stagnate, and that is repetition versus variety. The biggest mistake so many learners make is consuming new content every single day but never repeating anything. But hold on, a lot of students would argue that variety is better for motivation, right? For expanding their vocabulary. Does the research truly show that repetition is more important than variety for fluency?
It absolutely does, but we have to be clear on the goal. Variety is excellent for comprehension and for initial vocabulary expansion, but repetition is the mother of fluency. It's the mother of automaticity. If you watch a movie scene once and you understand it, you've achieved understanding. If you watch that same scene 10 times, repeat the lines, and use the phrases, you achieve fluency. Fluency means the phrase comes out automatically. And repetition is the only way to hardwire that connection in your brain. You have to repeat the best content until it's effortless. And as you're doing this, you need to shift your mental focus. Grammar rules are important, scaffolding, sure, but you should focus primarily on phrases and linguistic shortcuts. Pay attention to how native speakers start their sentences, how they connect ideas, and crucially, those natural fillers, the ums, the wells, the you-knows. They're the glue of natural conversations.
That focus on shortcuts is key to sounding fast and natural. What are some of the most common examples that listeners should be looking for in media?
Oh, they're everywhere. And they're almost always contractions or reductions designed for speed. For instance, taking the full, correct, I am going to eat, and turning it into the native shortcut, I'm going to eat. Or noticing how, do you want to come? Becomes the much smoother, faster want to come. These aren't bad grammar. They are phonetic efficiencies that make native speech sound less choppy. And by practicing them, you integrate them into your own flow.
Okay, let's pull all of this into a concrete action plan. We're presenting the 40-minute daily media plan, which the experts guarantee will drive real growth if you follow it consistently. Here's the breakdown. First, 10 minutes of a podcast while you're walking or cleaning. That's pure listening. Second, 15 minutes of a targeted YouTube video or a vlog. This focuses on conversational English. Third, 10 minutes practicing a movie scene using that 5-step method and shadowing. This is for your accent and confidence. And finally, just 5 minutes of short English reels on social media, quickly collecting new vocabulary via micro-exposure.
The beauty of this plan is its flexibility. You don't need a solid 40-minute block. You can break it up across the day. And when you commit to this, you enter what we call the transition phase. It usually starts after 1 to 3 months. The transformation itself is silent. You might not even notice it happening. But internally, your brain is changing. You'll start to notice you catch new words faster. You'll understand whole movies without needing subtitles. And crucially, you'll find yourself starting to think in English while you watch. And your speaking will begin to get faster without you even trying.
So for the person working hard at this every day, what's the key indicator of success? Well, it's often external. You might not feel the shift, but other people will notice. Suddenly, someone you haven't spoken to in a few months will say, "Hey, your English sounds so much more natural now. You sound like a native." That is the proof that all this media-driven effort has fundamentally rewired your brain.
The reality is, the media landscape, Netflix, YouTube, podcast, it's no longer just entertainment for you. It's your personal, on-demand training ground.
Okay.
You don't need to move across the world anymore because technology has brought Hollywood and London right into your home. You are learning in the fastest, smartest way possible just by consuming content you already love.
This deep dive has laid out the roadmap. Start integrating this real, natural content immediately using these techniques, especially the daily shadowing and that focused 5-step movie method. That's your quickest path to fluency.
Now that you have this blueprint, the choice is pretty simple. Are you going to keep watching English media just to pass the time? Or are you going to use it actively, strategically, to change your life and accelerate your fluency? That choice is yours, and it's the choice that will define your outcome.
So if you are anything like us, you're in a constant battle with that tiny, powerful computer in your pocket, your smartphone.
Oh, absolutely.
For so many of us, it's just this portal to distraction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Endless scrolling, social media, all those time-wasting apps.
But here's a paradox, and it's a huge one. Our deep dive today showed that that very same device is, and this is not an exaggeration, probably the most powerful English learning tool ever invented.
It's an incredible thought, isn't it? The one thing we blame for wrecking our attention spans actually holds the key to learning a language faster.
People see it as this enemy of productivity when they're literally holding a personal tutor that's on call 24/7.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is really, really focused. We're going to explore how you can use your smartphone smartly to improve your English.
Every single day.
Every single day, and without carving out extra, study time.
Yeah, we went through a fantastic stack of sources on this, and they all boiled it down to a series of what we're calling mini habits.
Mini habits, I like that.
Yeah, they aren't big, scary tasks. They're just small, systematic switches that turn your current wasted moments.
Like waiting in line for coffee.
Exactly. Waiting, scrolling, those quick checks. It turns all of that into genuine investment time.
The whole philosophy is simple, but it's transformative. We stop fighting that impulse to pick up the phone. Instead, we hijack it.
Right.
We switch your phone from being a distraction engine to a dedicated English teacher. You move from hours wasted to hours invested.
So to kick off this transformation, the first thing we have to do is establish the right environment.
The foundation.
The foundation. It's all about passive absorption. This is where the language comes to you, so you don't have to go hunting for it.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Habit number 1. This is, I think, the simplest change anyone can make, but it creates this constant immersion.
It does.
English everywhere in your phone. The action is just change your device's default language setting to English. That's it.
And the reason this is so effective is just sheer exposure. We spend hours a day navigating menus, settings, notifications.
Things we don't even think about.
Exactly. And when you force your brain to process English for those basic functions, you're learning without even trying to study.
Yeah.
It is like the input hypothesis in action. You just absorb the words because you need them to use your phone.
I found the examples in the source material really cool. For any of our listeners who speak Urdu or Arabic, you'll see this immediately. The word for taswir suddenly just becomes gallery, or istidrat is now settings. But this works for any language.
Of course. Spanish ajustes becomes settings. The repetition alone just drills those words into your memory.
And you have no choice, really. You have to recognize the word because you need to interact with the device.
And that environment needs to be reinforced right on your home screen.
Yeah.
Which brings us, naturally, to habit number 2. Home screen equals English zone.
This one is all about reducing friction. I mean, if your learning tools are buried 3 folders deep, you're just not going to use them, are you?
Never. The idea is to intentionally curate that first screen you see, your most immediate interface.
So what should be there?
Well, you pin every useful English resource right where you can see it. The sources recommend making key tools just one tap away.
Like Google Translate.
Google Translate, a good dictionary app like dictionary.com and then your learning resources. BBC Learning English, Duolingo, things like that.
And what about tools for, writing?
Oh, for sure. An app like Grammarly, should be right there, ready to check every single message you type.
And crucially, this is what I love, the conversation partners. Pinning apps like Hello or Cambly.
Yes.
It means that when you have 5 minutes waiting for that coffee, you're not just scrolling through social media.
You're jumping into a real conversation.
Exactly. You're turning that mindless swipe into a cognitive investment. Smart.
Okay, so once the environment is set up, we have to think about what we're feeding our brains.
The content.
The content. So this next part is all about the content diet shift.
Yeah.
You're already spending hours consuming stuff, right? We just need to change the flavor.
This leads perfectly into habit number 3. Content diet equals English fuel. It's about switching the language of everything you consume.
All of it. Your YouTube channels, your podcasts, those short clips, news articles. Switch it all to English.
But the key here is that you keep enjoying the same type of content you already love. You're just changing the language.
And that's the magic trick. The sources really stress that this should not feel like a chore.
So if I like travel vlogs.
Then you watch Lost LeBlanc. If you're into history, you watch Crash Course.
Yeah.
The fun keeps you engaged, and your brain starts connecting that feeling of pleasure with the English language itself.
And that just accelerates the whole process.
And naturally.
Okay, but let me just challenge that for a second. For a beginner, doesn't that make scrolling harder or slower? If I have to stop every 10 seconds to look up a word, isn't that just frustrating?
That's a great question, and the research is pretty clear. Initially, yes, it is slower. But you're not trying to understand 100% of it.
You're just getting the gist.
You're aiming for the gist. Overcoming that little bit of friction forces your brain to build context clues. You learn the way a child does.
By figuring it out from the situation.
Exactly. Not from a dictionary definition alone.
Yeah.
Consistency is what gets you over that initial hump.
So, sustainable consumption, not perfect comprehension. Got it. Okay, let's talk about a habit that uses rhythm and emotion. Habit 4. English, music, and lyrics.
Ah, music. It's one of the best memory hacks we have.
Oh.
The rhythm, the melody, it engages different parts of the brain. It makes vocabulary stick in a way that just reading a list of words never will.
Which is why karaoke is actually a really powerful learning tool.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you need a method here. It's not just casual listening. The sources lay out a 4-step cycle.
Okay, what is it?
1, you listen to the song just for fun. 2, you read the lyrics while you listen again.
So you're connecting the sound to the text.
Precisely. 3, you sing along, you practice the rhythm, the pronunciation. And 4, you go back and you highlight the new words you've learned.
We saw that really great example in the sources, right? About the learner who is struggling with complex verb phrases.
We did. They used this exact 4-step method with lyric-heavy artists like Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran.
Oh.
And within weeks, their recall of those complex phrases just shot up because the melody became the retrieval cue.
That's amazing. So songs like Perfect or Let Her Go are great places to start because the lyrics are so clear.
Perfect starting points, clear narrative lyrics.
All right, moving on, let's tackle what might be the biggest barrier to fluency for most people.
Getting that real-time practice and correction.
Yeah, building that daily feedback loop.
This section is all about solving that one huge problem everyone has. I don't have anyone to speak English with.
Which brings us to habit number 5, the modern solution. English-speaking apps equal practice anytime.
The smartphone completely democratized access to native speakers, didn't it?
It really did. Apps like Cambly, Hello, Lingby, they basically put a global network of language partners right in your hand, 24/7.
And the benefit isn't just speaking, it's the immediate correction.
Oh, yeah.
You get to hear real accents, fix your pronunciation mistakes right in that moment, and just build your confidence way faster than you would in a classroom, where you might wait days for feedback.
And for those moments when you hit a wall, outside of a conversation, that's where habit 6 comes in. Google equals your everyday teacher.
This is such high leverage learning.
Yeah.
If you're reading an article and you see a word or a grammar structure that just confuses you,
Don't get frustrated.
don't get frustrated. Your immediate reaction should be a 10-second search. That little action instantly turns confusion into knowledge.
I loved the examples of queries the research gave. Like instead of just being stuck, you type opposite of success or pronunciation of comfortable.
Or use challenge in a sentence. You're basically using the world's biggest knowledge base as your own personal on-demand tutor.
And that speed, that instant clarification keeps your momentum going, which is so important for staying consistent. Now, habit 7 is, this one is just brilliant as a self-correction tool. Voice typing practice. The research called the phone a A ruthless pronunciation judge.
It is. It's completely unemotional and unbiased. The action couldn't be simpler. You open your keyboard mic and you speak a sentence in English.
And if the phone types out exactly what you said,
Your pronunciation is great. If it types out something completely different or just garbled,
then you have undeniable proof of where you need to improve.
let's use a real example of why this is so good. Let's say you want to say, I went for a walk this morning, but you mix up your L and R sounds.
Okay.
The phone might type, I went for a work this morning. That immediate failure is the best feedback you can get. It focuses your attention right down to the specific sound you're getting wrong.
That feedback loop is priceless. You don't need another person to tell you you're wrong. Your own phone gives you that critical feedback instantly.
It takes away so much of the fear of speaking and just speeds up the correction process.
Okay, one last crucial habit in this feedback loop section. Habit number 8. This is a big one. Avoid over-reliance on auto-translate.
Yes, this is a major insight the sources really hammered home. When you just translate a word from your native language, let's say Hindi, directly to English, you're just swapping one word for another.
You're not really learning the concept.
You're not building a strong neural pathway for the English word's meaning and how to use it properly.
So let's say I see the word amazing. Why is it better to search amazing meaning in English instead of, say, amazing meaning in Hindi? That translation is faster, right?
It's faster, but it's much shallower learning. When you search amazing meaning in English, you get simple English definitions, you get synonyms, you get examples.
So it forces your brain to stay inside the English language system.
Exactly. It builds long-term mastery. It allows you to use the word in all its different contexts instead of relying on a single word translation that might even be misleading. You're investing in depth over speed. All right, our final section. And you could argue this is the most important one for long-term success.
Retention and consistency. Locking in the knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't reinforce all this knowledge, all those great searches and content shifts, they'll just fade away.
Which brings us to habit number 9, English notes and phone. The rule is so simple, never trust your memory.
Never.
The second you learn a new word, you have to capture it. Use your notes app or, even better, a dedicated flashcard app.
And this is where we really get into the deep dive part. We're not just saying take notes. We have to talk about how you take them.
Right.
Apps like Anki or Quizlet are so much better than a simple list because they use spaced repetition.
So they use an algorithm to show you the word right before you forget it.
Exactly. It forces the word from your short-term into your long-term memory. It's incredibly efficient.
And the structure of the note itself matters too, doesn't it?
It's critical. You need the word, a simple English definition, and this is the most important part, a clear example sentence that you wrote yourself.
So if I learned the word opportunity,
You write, opportunity, a chance to do something. I got an opportunity to travel to Italy. That personal context is what makes the word stick.
and then just commit to reviewing that personal dictionary for, 10 minutes a day?
10 minutes a day. That one small action locks in weeks of learning.
And finally, we need to make sure all these great habits actually happen. Habit number 10, English speaking reminder.
This is just classic behavioral architecture. You're using your phone's own reminder functions to take willpower completely out of the equation.
You're outsourcing the decision making.
You are. You don't have to decide to speak English. Your phone just tells you it's time to do it.
It's habit stacking at its finest. You set specific timed reminders, like a 3 p.m. alert that just says, English moment, speak 3 sentences out loud right now.
Or learn 5 new words at 5 p.m. The phone becomes your silent, persistent coach, making sure you hit those little learning goals every single day. So when you look at the whole framework, the change is, it's profound. We started with the phone as the #1 distraction.
Resulting in hours wasted and, frankly, knowledge stagnation.
And we end with the phone acting as a proactive, personalized English teacher.
Turning those exact same wasted hours into invested time, driving real, measurable improvement every day, just through entertainment and these targeted little habits.
That the final message, the one thing distilled from all our sources, was basically this. Don't fight your phone. Make it your language partner.
And you have to remember the math of consistency. You don't need some huge life-altering change.
No.
Just a 1% improvement in your habits every day. It compounds, and it leads to 100% improvement in your English fluency in just a few months.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought for you to take away today. Your phone already knows, better than anyone, what kind of content you enjoy, right?
Its whole job is to figure that out.
So how can you go beyond just changing the language input? How can you actually use its built-in recommendation algorithms for YouTube, for music, for news, even for the ads it shows you, to constantly feed you high-quality English material? Could you actually trick your phone into curating your entire education for you, making your learning completely and utterly effortless? That's a powerful tool to think about the next time you pick it up to scroll.
Okay, let's just jump right in. Look around you for a second. Chances are you or someone very close by has their hand practically glued to a smartphone.
It's the most constant companion we have, isn't it?
It really is. And, we have to ask the question, is this incredibly powerful thing just a distraction, just sucking hours out of your day?
Yeah.
Or is it secretly the most powerful 247 English learning device that's ever existed?
That is the big question, because for most people, let's be honest, it is pure distraction.
Oh, absolutely.
They're just maximizing the scroll, the filters, the endless TikToks. They're using a supercomputer as like a high-tech fidget spinner.
And those hours, they just evaporate. We're talking about time that could be genuinely transformative.
Exactly. And our mission in this deep dive is to completely flip that script. We want to show you how to turn that screen time, the time you're already spending, into actual daily improvement in your English. And here's the best part. It requires zero extra study time.
That's the dream, isn't it? We're not adding homework. We're just making what you already do smarter.
We're optimizing existing behavior.
So our blueprint today is to explore 10. Let's call them mini habits. They're designed to turn your phone from that time drain into an expert language partner.
Let's start with the foundation. We call it passive immersion.
Okay, so making English just unavoidable.
Exactly. Which brings us to the first, simplest habit. It's so obvious, people just skip it.
Which is?
Switch your phone's language, the entire operating system. Switch it to English.
The power in that is incredible. You're not sitting down to study.
Yeah.
You're just navigating your digital life. But every menu, every notification, every button, it's all English vocabulary.
It is. And it's that constant low-stakes exposure that really builds up. Your brain sees these words hundreds of times a day.
It's what linguists call subconscious acquisition.
Precisely. You absorb it without even realizing you're learning. We've seen sources that looked at learners whose native language was Urdu.
Okay, give us some of those examples. What changes?
Well, think about the basics. The Urdu word for picture, taswir, it becomes gallery or photos.
Instantly.
The settings menu, istadarat, is now just settings.
Even the simple stuff like yes or no.
Right. Instead of Hansian, you see yes. All those basic commands, cancel, copy, paste, download, they become second nature. It's mandatory, pressure-free repetition.
That's a huge return for such a tiny change. So building on that, let's talk about the home screen.
Habit number 2. The home screen English zone.
So curating what you see the second you unlock your phone.
Yes. If your home screen is just games and social media, you're setting yourself up to be distracted. You have to swap those out.
Replace the time wasters with tools.
Tools that teach. I think the real insight here is about tackling decision fatigue.
How so?
Well, if the first thing you see is Google Translate, a dictionary app, and maybe Duolingo, the path of least resistance is actually toward learning.
You're making it easy to do the right thing.
You are. So let's list them. What should be in that English zone?
Okay.
You need your core tools first. So Google Translate and a good dictionary app like dictionary.com.
Got it. Then the learning apps.
Yep. Something like Duolingo or BBC Learning English for lessons, and definitely Grammarly.
I love Grammarly because it's practical. It's not theory. It's fixing your English as you write it.
It is. And finally, you need output. So put those conversation apps right on the front screen. Hello, Cambly, Bilingua.
Suddenly, every time you glance at your phone, it's not wasted time. It's invested time.
Absolutely. Which leads us perfectly into our second segment, strategic input, or as we like to call it, your content diet.
Mini habit number 3. I love this idea. We all scroll for hours. The problem isn't the scrolling.
No. It's the language of what you're scrolling.
So you don't have to change your interests. If you love cooking or science or video games,
you just switch the medium. You follow English-speaking YouTubers, listen to English podcasts, read English articles.
This taps into that idea of comprehensible input, right? Learning is easier when you're actually interested in the topic.
Far more effective. You get the entertainment you were already looking for, but now the language itself is the lesson.
So what are some specific recommendations from the sources?
They gave a great list. For motivation, someone like Jay Shetty or Jordan Peterson, they use very accessible language.
Okay, and for more educational stuff.
Crash Course and TED Ed are, they're unbeatable for that kind of academic but engaging English.
And what about channels made specifically for learners?
Of course. You have English with Lucy or Speak English with Mr. Duncan. They're great for breaking down the tricky parts.
And even just for fun.
Yeah. Channels like Los LeBlanc for travel or Mr. Beast for just high-energy entertainment. You're basically tricking your brain into practicing while you relax.
Okay, sticking with audio input, let's talk about music.
Ah, yes. Mini habit number 8. Music and lyrics. Basically, learning through karaoke.
Songs are amazing memory aids.
They really are. They connect language to melody and emotion, which makes vocabulary stick.
The process is simple, right? It's 4 steps.
Just 4. First, just listen. Then, read the lyrics while you listen.
Third, and this is the important part,
Sing along. Focus on the pronunciation. And fourth, make a note of any new words you find.
and for beginners, what are some good songs to start with?
The sources recommend songs with clear vocals. Things like Perfect by Ed Sheeran.
Memories by Maroon 5.
Yeah. Or Love Story by Taylor Swift, Let Her Go by Passenger. Relatable themes, easy to follow language.
All right, this is a crucial one. Let's talk about mini habit number 10, the smart translator rule.
This is one of the biggest roadblocks to fluency.
And it's about avoiding your native language when you look up a new word.
Exactly. You must prioritize translating from English to English.
So if you see the word amazing, don't search amazing meaning in Urdu.
Correct. You search amazing meaning in English.
But wait, for a beginner, wouldn't that be harder? Why is that so important?
Because it stops your brain from rerouting. When you translate English to Urdu and then back to English to use it, you're adding 2 slow extra steps.
Ah, I see. It slows down your thinking in a real conversation.
Immensely. By keeping it English to English, you're forcing your brain to stay in that language. You learn the word as an English concept, not as a translation of something else.
That's how you build real conversational speed.
That's how you start to actually think in English.
Okay, so we've covered immersion and input. Now, how do we make sure it all sticks? Let's move to segment 3. Building a personal knowledge system.
This is all about using the tools already on your phone. Let's start with mini habit number 5. Google is your everyday teacher.
An instant feedback loop. Anytime you're confused about grammar, meaning pronunciation.
Google it immediately. Don't let that question linger. It's just-in-time learning.
Because if you wait, you forget the context and the learning opportunity is lost.
Exactly. And the key is knowing how to ask Google.
Right, don't just type in the word confused.
No. Ask a better question. Type confused meaning in English or opposite of success.
Pronunciation of comfortable.
Yes, or my favorite. Use challenge in a sentence. That gives you real-world context, not just a definition.
Okay, so you've found the information, but you need to retain it. That brings us to mini habit 6.
English notes in your phone. Vocabulary just disappears if you keep it only in your head.
So you need a permanent record in your Notes app, or even better, a flashcard app like Anki or Quizlet.
Because they use spaced repetition, which is, scientifically proven to help memory.
And the format of the note is critical, isn't it?
Absolutely essential. It needs 3 parts. The word, a simple meaning in English, ideally, and the most important part.
A personal example sentence.
A personal example sentence. It has to connect the word to your own life.
So give us an example of a good entry.
Okay, so opportunity. The meaning is a chance for advancement. And your sentence could be, I finally got the opportunity to travel abroad this summer.
Or confident, meaning feeling sure of oneself.
And your sentence. I feel more confident when I practice speaking English every day. It becomes sticky because it's about you. Then you just review that list for 10 minutes a day.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the hardest part for everyone. The speaking. Segment 4, active output and consistency.
The number 1 complaint we hear is, I have no one to practice with.
And the phone just makes that excuse obsolete.
Completely, which is mini habit number 4. English speaking apps. Practice anytime.
We mentioned apps like Cambly and Hello earlier. Why are they so effective?
They create a low-stakes environment. The fear of making mistakes, that effective filter, is what stops most people.
Right.
These apps connect you with native speakers 24/7, so you can practice without that anxiety. You get instant feedback on your pronunciation, and you hear real accents.
And it prepares you for the real world.
Yeah.
But what if you're alone and just want to check your pronunciation?
That's mini habit number 7, voice typing practice. The phone becomes your honest judge.
So simple. You just open any keyboard, hit the little mic icon.
And you speak an English sentence. The goal is for the phone to type exactly what you said.
And if it gets it wrong,
Then you know your pronunciation or intonation needs work. It's instant, non-judgmental feedback.
what are some good sentences to practice with?
Simple ones. I love speaking English every day. Or, I am improving step by step. If the phone can't understand you, you know exactly what to work on.
Fantastic. Okay, finally, the glue that holds all this together, consistency.
Mini habit number 9. English speaking reminders.
You're using the phone's notification system, the thing that normally distracts you, to actually help you.
Do force you to practice. And the reminders need to be specific, not just study English.
Right. It should be actionable.
Exactly. Set one for 3 p.m. that says, speak 3 sentences now, or at 10 p.m., watch a 10-minute English video. It pushes you from thinking about it to actually doing it.
So let's wrap this up. We started by asking if the phone was a teacher or a distraction.
And the transformation is clear. By using these habits, you shift a phone from a place where hours are wasted
To a partner where hours are invested, leading to guaranteed daily improvement.
The decision is really up to you, the listener. You have this incredibly powerful device in your hand.
You can let it destroy your time, or you can use it to build your future.
The tools are already there.
Don't wait for some perfect 3-hour block of study time. It's never going to happen. And don't try to do all 10 of these tomorrow.
There's a final message from the sources that just says it all. Don't fight your phone. Make it your language partner.
A tiny 1% change in your daily habits can lead to 100% improvement over a few months.
So just pick one.
Just one. Switch the language, pin one new app, or set one single reminder. Start small, but start now.
Okay, let's just jump right in. Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're here, you're probably looking for that fast track to upgrading your communication skills. And today we're really focusing in on English, clarity, and confidence. We've been digging into some really fascinating material, mostly from Mastering English Clarity, and it just flips the script on what we think fluency is.
It really does. I mean, the common wisdom is, I need more words, I need more grammar.
Right.
People drill vocabulary endlessly.
Right.
But the source material hits you with this kind of brutal truth. Most people, most learners, they already have enough words for their daily life.
And here's the gut punch. The way people judge your actual fluency has almost nothing to do with your vocabulary.
Yeah.
It's all about how clearly you say the words you already know.
That's the formula right there. Pronunciation equals the perception of fluency. You can have this perfect high-level word, but if the delivery is muffled or unclear, the listener just hears a mistake. They hear a lack of confidence. And then the speaker feels that, and they start hesitating, and it's this whole negative cycle.
So it's a perception problem that creates a confidence problem. It doesn't matter how smart you are if the listener is struggling to process the sounds. So our mission today, it's not about getting some perfect native accent. That's not the goal.
No.
The goal is just intelligibility. Clean, confident English that anyone can understand without effort.
And what's so cool is that these techniques we're about to talk about, they're pulled from professional training. This is what broadcasters use, what they use to coach actors. It's about clarity, when clarity is absolutely non-negotiable.
I love that. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Diagnosing the real problem. I think anyone listening can probably relate to this. You can read a really complex article in English, no problem. You can follow a movie.
Absolutely.
But then you open your mouth to speak and you just feel stuck. Your native language sounds start creeping in. You can't quite hit those specific English sounds.
And the reason for that, it's not an intelligence issue. It's physical. It's a muscle memory thing. Your brain is trying to speak English, but it's using the, let's call it the operating manual from your native language.
So it's like a software mismatch?
Exactly. A software mismatch. Every language has totally different settings for your mouth. You know, where your tongue rests, how your jaw is shaped, your lips.
So if you're, say, a native Spanish speaker, your tongue just isn't used to making an English R sound, so it defaults to the closest thing it knows.
Precisely. And that's what we need to fix. We have to physically retrain the mouth. So let's get into rule number 1, which is where the sources say we should all start. It's about mastering the music.
The music. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me, because it's not about single words, is it? It's the whole sentence.
It's the whole sentence. This is so crucial. English is what's called a stress-timed language.
What does that mean exactly?
It means that some words in a sentence are strong and emphasized, and others are weak and reduced. They almost get crushed.
Yeah.
It's the rhythm, the beat, that makes it sound smooth and confident.
And that's different from what's the alternative?
The alternative is a syllable-timed language, like Spanish or French, where pretty much every syllable gets the same amount of time, the same emphasis. Ba, 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 ba.
Right, so if you speak English like that, with every word getting equal weight, it sounds very robotic, choppy.
It's that robotic feel. The groove, the natural flow, it comes from knowing which words to hit hard, usually nouns, main verbs, adjectives, and which ones to just skim over. The function words like to, the a.
They just kind of disappear.
They almost disappear, yeah. They become these little weak syllables in between the strong beats.
Okay, let's make this real. So in a sense, like, I want to go to the market.
Mm-hmm.
The strang beats are want, go, and mar. The to and the are super weak.
Exactly. Try saying it. Feel that rhythm. The energy is on want. Go, Mark. Mar-air. Now try this one. I'd love a cup of coffee.
You feel how you're just jumping between those main words. Love, cup, coffee.
Yeah, the A and of are just bridges to get to the next beat. And the sources say you should actually practice this physically.
Yeah.
Right? Like clapping your hands.
Yes. Actively clap on the strong words, take your time, clap on taken time, or where are you going? You're training your brain to feel that beat. It's a game changer.
And that rhythm is actually more important than getting every single sound perfect.
Arguably, yes. If the music is right, people will understand you. Even with a slight mispronunciation here and there, you'll sound so much more fluent.
Okay, that's a huge shift. But, that flow only works if the actual sounds are clear enough. Which brings us to rule number 2. Mastering the mechanics, the mouth and the tongue.
Right, and here we're going to target the sounds that cause the most trouble because they just don't exist in a lot of other languages.
Let's start with the big one, the one everyone struggles with, the TH sound. Think, the mother.
What's the common mistake people make?
Well, they usually replace it with a sound that's easier for them. So a T or a D or even an S or Z. So think becomes tink, or this becomes dis.
Because their tongue isn't doing the right thing.
Right. Their tongue is pulling back into the mouth. The correction is purely mechanical. You have to force your tongue forward so the tip is just slightly between your teeth.
You can feel it.
You can feel it. And you just blow air. Des. For a word like think or throw, it's just air.
Yeah.
For words like this or that, you add your voice, you can feel it vibrate.
Right.
Des versus VVV.
Ah, okay. That's a critical difference. And if you don't get that right, you're constantly confusing words.
You really are. And the second huge one is the difference between V and W. This one is an absolute clarity killer.
I hear this all the time. Vest and west become the same word. What's the physical fix?
Okay, so for V, your top teeth have to touch your bottom lip. You're creating friction. V, 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 V. It's a buzzing sound.
You're kind of biting the air.
Exactly. But for W, there's no contact. Your lips get round like you're about to whistle. W, 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 W.
Okay, so V is friction. W is rounded lips. This is where using a mirror, which we'll get to, must be so important.
It's essential. You need to see it. Try these pairs. Vest versus west. Vine versus wine. You'll see your mouth shape is completely different.
And you realize these tiny little sound upgrades, they make a massive difference in how fluent you sound.
Huge difference. You clean up just those two things, TH and VW, and your clarity just skyrockets.
Okay, so we've got the music and the mechanics. But to really speed this up, we need to talk about the professional training techniques. What do actors and broadcasters actually do?
The number one technique, the one the sources say is the fastest accelerator, is something called shadowing.
Shadowing. Okay, that sounds pretty intense. What is it?
It's basically immediate, precise imitation. You listen to a native speaker, maybe from a movie or a podcast, and you repeat what they're saying, but at the same time, like their shadow.
So not after them, but with them.
With them. The goal isn't just to say the words, it's to copy everything. The tone, the emotion, the speed, and especially that rhythm we talked about. The strong and weak beats.
So regular repetition just practices the words, but shadowing practices the entire sound of the language.
Exactly. You find a short clip, maybe 15 seconds, and you do it again and again, like 10 or 15 times. And here's the key. You have to record yourself doing it. Then you listen back and compare it to the original. That's where you really learn.
That's incredibly actionable. Okay, what's the next pro technique?
This one is so simple, but so overlooked. Breathing for clarity.
Breathing. How does that affect pronunciation?
A lot of learners sound hesitant because they're literally running out of air mid-sentence. They're taking these shallow little breaths.
I never even thought about that.
But English, because of that stress pattern, It requires you to group a lot of words into a single breath. We call it a breath phrase. If you run out of air after 3 words, the rhythm is just destroyed.
So what's the drill?
It's simple. Before you speak, take a conscious deep breath in through your nose, and then practice saying 5, 6, 7 words on that single smooth exhale.
Like, I'm going to the store. Do you need anything? You need one solid breath for that to sound natural.
Yes, and when you do that, your voice has more power, more control, and that control sounds like confidence to the listener.
Okay, and the last technique you mentioned before, mirror work. This one feels a little awkward.
It can be, but it's so powerful. We just don't know what our mouths are actually doing when we speak. The mirror gives you that objective feedback.
So you stand in front of a mirror and say what?
You practice those really tricky everyday words like thank you, comfortable, chocolate, probably refrigerator. But here's the trick. You say them with massive exaggeration.
Exaggeration, won't that make you sound weird?
The exaggeration is just for the training. It's like a workout for your mouth. You're building the muscle memory. When you go back to speaking normally, hitting those correct mouth shapes is suddenly so much easier.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's pull this together and talk about flow, and specifically the speed trap.
Ah, yes. This is maybe the biggest myth out there, that speaking fast means you're fluent. It's just not true.
Right.
The sources are really clear on this. Fast plus unclear just equals confusing. Slow plus clear equals fluent. Period.
But I think people are scared to slow down. They worry they'll sound like they're struggling.
It's the opposite. Think about who you trust. People who speak in a calm, controlled way. When you deliberately slow down, maybe 20%, you give yourself time to hit those strong words, to articulate, to pause, it immediately makes you sound more authoritative and professional.
You're trading the feeling of speed for the perception of control.
Exactly. And part of that control is something called chunking.
Chunking, grouping words together.
Yes. Instead of speaking word by word, like this.
Right. What is your name?
You link the sounds together into one smooth unit. What's your name? It becomes one chunk of meaning.
And this is where contractions are so key. I don't know becomes don't know, let me see, becomes let me see.
Mm-hmm. And you hear in questions all the time, did you eat? Almost never sounds like that. It sounds like G-E eat, or did you eat? The end of one word just flows right into the beginning of the next.
So we have rhythm, mechanics, flow. The last piece of this whole puzzle seems to be consistency.
Totally non-negotiable. For the sake of clarity, you have to pick one major accent, American, British, Australian, whatever, and just stick with it.
Why is mixing them so bad?
Because you're changing the sound rules on your listener halfway through a sentence. If you say water with an American water sound, but then you drop the R like a British speaker, in another word, the listener's ear has to keep recalibrating to figure out your system.
It creates friction.
It creates mental friction for them. Consistency just makes you easier to understand.
Okay, this is a ton of amazing information. Let's put it into a super practical daily action plan for everyone listening. The 5-minute daily workout.
5 steps, 5 minutes, every single day. Step 1 is the tongue warm-up. Literally just wake up those muscles, say, la, 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 roar, roar, roar.
Okay, step 2.
Trigger words. Practice those difficult pairs we talked about. Chair, share, where, where. Or just drill the TH sound. This, that, those, these.
Step 3, the music.
Yep, the rhythm drill. Go back to clapping. I want to go to the market. Feel the beat.
Step 4 is shadowing. Grab that 15-second audio clip and just copy it. Tone, emotion, rhythm, everything.
And step 5, this is the most important one. Record yourself. You have to listen back. You can't fix what you can't hear. That feedback loop is everything for making real progress.
Wow. It really all comes back to this one powerful idea, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Clarity is the real fluency. And when you speak clearly, people they treat you differently, they listen more, and your own confidence just goes through the roof.
It really does. And maybe to leave you with a final thought on all this, we've established that people trust speakers who sound calm and controlled. So think about this. In any important situation, a job interview, a big presentation, if you just deliberately slow down your speech by that 20%, how often is that single change in your pace the most powerful thing you can do to completely reshape how people see your authority and your expertise? It might be more powerful than any word you choose.
The power of the pause. That's a fantastic thought, and definitely something for all of you to think about as you start that 5-minute workout. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you on the next one.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are taking a massive shortcut, really. We're going right past all the boring stuff. I mean, if you're learning English, or any language for that matter, and you're just tired of grinding through vocabulary lists.
The flashcards, the textbook drills.
Exactly. All of that. Well, this deep dive is built specifically for you. We're looking at a new path, moving from that stressful, mandatory study of English to simply, well, to living English.
And our mission here is to show you exactly how to turn your leisure time into your learning time. We're looking at how your favorite entertainment, we're talking movies, music, podcasts, even your social media feed can become this super effective and enjoyable path to fluency.
So this is basically the blueprint for getting up to speed on the best modern language strategies out there.
That's it.
Okay, so we're essentially trading in the dry grammar manual for a Netflix subscription and a good pair of headphones.
Pretty much, yeah. The core insight we pulled from all the material is that the secret to real fluency isn't about memorization. It's all human. It's about absorption. Yes. Exposure, as long as it's consistent and enjoyable, is what creates expression. Just think about how kids learn their first language.
Right, it's total immersion.
It's pure continuous immersion. They aren't studying grammar rules. They're just absorbing patterns until the language becomes, automatic.
That makes a lot of sense. We're going for subconscious learning. But, okay, let me challenge that for a second.
Go for it.
If we just ditch the structured textbooks, aren't we missing the foundational grammar rules? I mean, what's the risk of just learning a bunch of slang and not being able to form, correct complex sentences?
That is a really crucial and fair question. And what the research shows is that grammar learned in isolation. It's often forgotten the second you're in a real conversation.
Yeah.
By immersing yourself in content, you're learning grammar not as a set of rules, but as patterns of use. Think about it. Textbooks give you these really stiff, formal, sometimes ancient phrases like, how do you do?
Which literally nobody says.
Nobody. Exactly. Real life gives you life phrases. You hear stuff like, hey, what's up? You good? Or maybe, are you serious right now?
Right. Things people actually say.
And that kind of content immersion teaches you native phrasing, natural expressions, and I think most importantly, the emotional rhythm and tone that a textbook just cannot capture.
Okay, so let's unpack that. How do we start integrating this into, say, our movie watching habits? The blueprint we found says to start by prioritizing enjoyment.
Always.
You have to choose content you genuinely love, comedy, crime dramas, sci-fi, whatever. That enjoyment is what keeps the learning engine running.
If you're not into the subject matter, your brain just checks out. It doesn't matter how educational it's supposed to be.
And once you've got your show or movie, the next step is what the sources call the double learning strategy.
Right. Always watch in English with the English subtitles on.
I used to think watching in English but with subtitles in my own language was the way to go. But that's actually counterproductive, isn't it?
It really is. When you use your native language subtitles, your brain just, it optimizes. It takes the easy path and just reads, ignoring the audio.
I see.
But by seeing the English word on the screen at the same time you're hearing the English sound, you build this powerful dual learning pathway. And that's essential for turning what you hear into something you can actually say.
The sources also really stress that when you're taking notes, you should be collecting full sentences, not just isolated vocabulary.
Absolutely. Don't just memorize a single word like understand.
Right.
You want to memorize a complete functional phrase that shows you how it's actually used. Something like, do you understand what I'm saying? Or maybe, I think I finally understand.
Because that sentence structure is useful right away.
Immediately.
And finally, for movies, repetition. The advice is to watch important scenes 3 to 5 times.
Yes. And this is where you start to see exponential growth. The first time you watch a scene, you might get, 30% comprehension?
If you're lucky.
Right. But by the third time, you're hitting maybe 70%. And it's not just because you know the words, it's because your brain has stopped trying to decode every single word and has started recognizing whole chunks of speech.
And by the 5th time?
By the 5th time, you can often speak along with confidence. And you start picking up on subtle cultural things or little nuances you totally missed before.
Which leads us right into the most practical physical training technique there is, shadowing.
Shadowing is how professionals train, and its benefit is really twofold. First, it's building muscle memory in your mouth. You're training your mouth to make sounds and connections that, you might not have in your native language.
Then the second part.
The second is training in what we call connected speech.
Okay, connected speech is a term we hear a lot. For someone learning, What exactly are we talking about?
We're talking about how native speakers don't say every single word separately. We sort of compress them together.
You blend them.
Exactly. So when you shadow, you pick one short piece of dialogue, you listen, you pause, you repeat it, and you try to copy the speaker's speed, their tone, their rhythm.
Exactly.
That's how you learn that going to in real life becomes gonna.
And want to becomes wanna.
Precisely. And that ability to compress language is what makes you sound fluid and native, not like a robot reading from a dictionary. And, moving beyond scripted stuff, what's really fascinating is how unscripted content, like podcasts or interviews, builds a completely different layer of fluency.
Because it's happening in real time. The pace isn't controlled.
Exactly. You get the messiness of real communication. You hear the awkward pauses, the self-correction.
There's eruptions.
The excited interruptions, the stumbles. This is where you really start to get English expressed with genuine human emotion. The excitement, the confusion, the dry humor, the storytelling, all the stuff that a standardized recording can never give you.
And the beauty of audio content, like a podcast, is that it lets you reclaim what the research calls dead time.
Oh, I love this concept of reclaiming time.
It's so powerful.
It is. You just transform those hours that are already in your life, listening while you're traveling, eating breakfast, walking the dog, commuting, working out.
Right.
You turn that into effective learning time without having to find a single extra hour in your day. You don't need more time, you just need a better way to use the time you already have.
Now, let's talk about rhythm, because music plays a really unique and crucial role in all this.
Music is an absolute superpower for training your accent and rhythm. It zooms in on those specific auditory things that are just essential for sounding native. Pronunciation, connected speech, stress patterns, intonation.
And because you like it, you repeat it.
Exactly. Because it's inherently enjoyable and repetitive, those patterns just stick in your brain permanently.
We did find some specific song examples that were highlighted as being really useful. Can you tell us why these songs in particular are good for learners?
The key is clarity and tempo. So songs like Ed Sheeran's Perfect or Louis Capaldi's Someone You Loved.
Memories by Maroon 5 was another one.
Right. Those are excellent choices because the pronunciation is usually very clear, the tempo is often moderate to slow, and they use a lot of high-frequency emotional words instead of, a ton of weird slang.
And the strategy is pretty simple.
Super simple. Listen first with no lyrics. Then go read the lyrics online. And finally, sing along. Loudly and often. That act of singing is just this intense, enjoyable repetition that drills rhythm into you better than any classroom exercise ever could.
Okay, so this is where the strategy becomes truly seamless. Let's talk about how to turn one of our deepest, most time-consuming daily habits. I'm talking about social media scrolling into a secret, highly effective pocket classroom.
This is all about making a strategic switch to what we're calling your like habits.
Well, like that.
Right. If you spend an hour scrolling through stuff in your native language, just switch the subject. Instead of following comedy or, quote, pages in your own language, switch those follows to English comedy pages, English travel vlogs, news summaries, motivational content.
The power of that scrolling is just undeniable.
It is.
When every single post you scroll past, every caption you read, every short video is in English, you're engaging in this constant, low-effort immersion. You can seriously absorb more relevant English in 30 minutes of scrolling than in a 2-hour lecture.
And you pick up on the subtle stuff, too, the way people talk on the internet. You see how native speakers use ellipses in comments, why they use certain abbreviations, how they get tone across in a short caption.
You're absorbing living English.
Language in action, not language in a formal report.
So this nonstop visual exposure is fantastic. Yeah. But we have to admit that visual and audio media can sometimes miss a crucial element. And that's why we have to transition to reading. Reading develops depth.
Absolutely. Reading develops a deep understanding of complex sentence structure, advanced grammar patterns, and descriptive vocabulary in a way that fast conversational media just can't.
How so?
Well, when you read a novel, for instance, you're running into subordinate clauses, delayed main verbs, abstract concepts, all stuff that requires a more sophisticated structural understanding.
So what's the pathway for reading? Do we need to jump straight into 19th century literature?
No, definitely not. You start exactly where you're comfortable. The recommended path is to start simple. Graded readers, short stories, children's books.
Comic books.
Comic books are great, easy news articles. Once you're comfortable getting the meaning there, then you can upgrade to modern novels, biographies, or self-improvement books written for a general audience.
But there's a crucial next step. And this is what makes sure the knowledge gets activated. It's not stopping when you finish the page.
Correct. You have to force the output. We call it the read one page, explain aloud method.
So you read one page.
One single page. Then you stop, close the book, and you ask yourself out loud, what did I just understand? What happened to the main character? What did I learn? You're forcing your brain to retrieve and then produce the information instantly.
That's brilliant because it's activating all 4 skills at once. You've got reading input, comprehension, memory recall, and speaking output.
It forces you out of that passive input mode and straight into active production.
Okay, let's talk about repetition, because this is where the magic of fluency really seems to happen. We found this great insight. You don't need 100 new words every day. You need 10 high-frequency words used 100 times.
Until they become permanent, usable vocabulary. And the material maps out this repetition curve so well, it goes right back to the brain shifting from decoding to chunking.
Right.
As we mentioned, your first exposure to a scene might get you 30% understanding. But by the 3rd time you see it or reread that caption, your brain stops struggling with the unknown words and starts seeing the patterns. And you jump to 70%.
And by the 5th time, it's internalized. You can shadow the dialogue, you start hearing the idioms, and you're noticing linguistic nuances you completely missed before because your brain was too busy just translating.
But that exponential improvement depends entirely on your consumption style, which raises a really important question. How are you consuming your content?
We need to draw a clear line here between passive and active consumption.
Yes. Passive consumption is just watching or listening while you're distracted with no intention of producing anything. Your progress is going to be frustratingly slow.
But active consumption.
Active consumption is where you integrate all these techniques we've been talking about. Shadowing, pausing, repeating, taking notes, summarizing out loud. That is where progress becomes fast and really noticeable.
Can you give us an example of a short, intense, active routine that someone could start using today?
Yeah, keep it short and focused. Watch one, say, 3-minute movie scene. Write down 3 useful phrases or full sentences you heard.
Okay.
Then speak those 3 phrases aloud and really focus on copying the tone and the speed of the original speaker. And finally, if you can, record yourself speaking them so you can actually hear where your connected speech might need some work.
That's a disciplined approach that, even for 15 minutes a day, would yield really fast results.
Huge results.
And to make sure the systems is balanced and you don't burn out, we can look at the simple weekly transformation plan that was provided and make sure there's variety and consistency.
And that balance is key. It makes sure you're hitting all the different modes of learning. So, for example, Monday could be your English show day, where you focus on visual input and shattering 5 phrases.
And then Tuesday
is podcast day. That forces audio input and then verbal output because you summarize the content out loud. Wednesday is all about music singing along to drill rhythm.
And then the weekend brings in social interaction and deep reading.
Exactly. Saturday is for active engagement, like commenting in English on social media. And Sunday is dedicated to reading a story and recording a 1-minute speaking summary.
It's systematic, it's pretty low pressure, and it's all built around content you were probably going to enjoy anyway.
And if we connect all this back to the bigger picture, we realize that fluency isn't just knowledge. It's automatic recall. By absorbing real enjoyable conversation and practicing active techniques like shadowing, you're not memorizing isolated facts anymore. You're internalizing native functional patterns. And well, when the process is fun, your brain just opens up to retention and it never lets go.
So every piece of English content you interact with from today on, every song you play, every video you watch, every post you scroll, is no longer just entertainment.
No.
It's powerful, invisible, daily training. And that's how English stops feeling like a chore and just becomes, seamlessly integrated into the fabric of your lifestyle.
And once English is truly integrated into your life, the transformation is about so much more than just passing a test. It becomes real.
So focus on that ultimate transformation. What happens when the line between your learning time and your leisure time completely disappears? When every single moment becomes an effortless opportunity for fluency? How quickly will your colleagues and friends notice the realness of your English when it starts flowing naturally, not just because you learned some new words, but because you finally mastered the rhythm of the conversation? Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are undertaking what I think is a really critical mission: fluency acceleration.
It's a big one.
We're taking a stack of research and focusing on probably the most difficult hurdle in language learning.
I would agree. It's that shift from passive skills,
Hmm.
the listening and reading.
Right, the stuff you've been working on so diligently.
Exactly. And moving from that to active, confident, and I think this is the key word, automatic speaking.
And that shift is, well, it's everything, isn't it? The core frustration for millions of learners, it's not a lack of words.
Not at all. It's being unable to use the vocabulary you already have, in real time.
Seamlessly.
The premise we're drawing from today is, I think, revolutionary because it's so simple. You can absolutely practice and master these crucial skills anywhere.
So not just in an English-speaking country.
No. At home, in your office, walking down the street, you don't need that full immersion to get that confident flow.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The core psychological block.
Yeah.
Our sources all point to this universal problem. Learners know the phrases, they've studied the grammar, but then...
A native speaker asks a simple question.
And they just freeze. Why does the brain do that? Why that catastrophic block right when you need it most?
It all comes down to cognitive load.
Or
When you're learning, your brain is using its working memory. It's actively translating from your native language, trying to structure the sentence, remembering the rules.
it's doing a dozen things at once.
A dozen things. And that process is slow. So when you're faced with a real-life question, that huge burden causes the delay. That's what we feel as freezing.
So fluency is about bypassing that translation step.
Completely. You have to embed these phrases into your procedural memory.
Procedural memory. So that's like muscle memory for the
That
brain.
was a perfect analogy. When you role play, you're training your brain not just for word recall, but for contextual recall. The response becomes immediate. And today, we're going to drill down into the specific, essential role play scenarios that are designed to make that automaticity happen. We've broken them down into 8 crucial steps.
Let's jump straight in then. Let's get practical. Step 1. Simple introductions. This sounds basic, but you're saying this is where confidence really begins.
It is, because simple introductions aren't actually that simple when you're aiming for conversational rhythm.
Right. Most people learn that robotic exchange. Hi, how are you? I am fine, thank you.
And that's a dead end. A fluent speaker knows that's just a stepping stone, not the whole conversation.
So the goal is to make it natural and actually, extend it, not just rely on the other person to carry the whole thing.
Exactly. So the role play script immediately gives you proactive language. It might start, "Hi, I'm Daniel. Nice to meet you. What's your name?"
Standard enough.
But then after the "nice to meet you too," instead of stopping, the fluent response adds a question. "Where are you from?" Or "Are you visiting or living here?"
So you're taking ownership of the conversation.
You're taking ownership of the thread. It forces you to practice the follow-up, not just the initial reaction.
That structure feels key.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the specific practice takeaway here? What should you actually do?
It's all about embodiment. You have to repeat that full dialogue, say 5 times aloud. But here's the trick.
Okay.
Pause after every sentence. Maybe even shift your body slightly, as if you're really talking to someone. You're building muscle memory for the rhythm, not just the words.
I like that. So if introductions are the warm-up, step 2, shopping conversations,
Yep.
that's like the first real-world test.
Absolutely. This is one of the most common interactions you're going to have.
And the struggle here is pretty intense, right? The pressure of a transaction can push you right back into that bad habit.
The habit of thinking in your native language and translating word for word. Role-playing is like a fire drill that breaks that pattern.
Let's get specific. Buying clothes. That can involve a lot of unique words, sizes, colors. What are the must-have phrases?
You need immediate recall for the request, and you need to handle variation in the response. So you start with, "Excuse me, how much is this shirt?"
Simple.
But you have to anticipate the follow-ups. You need to be ready for, "It's $25. Would you like to try it on?" Or maybe, "What size are you looking for?" You need to be ready to ask for the fitting room or about the return policy.
Things that definitely are not in the beginner textbooks.
Exactly. You have to anticipate the whole interaction, not just your first line.
So what's the best way to practice? Since every shop and every item is different.
It's all about flexibility. The advice is critical. Don't just memorize the script, internalize the pattern. Practice maybe 5 different scenarios a day.
Changing the details?
Change the items, change the prices, and this is important, swap roles. Be the cashier. Try to offer a loyalty card or ask if they need a bag. That forces you to think on your feet.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've set the foundation. Now let's move into section 2, where the stakes are a bit higher. Essential service interactions, starting with step 3. Ordering food at a restaurant.
And this environment is a huge challenge. There's noise, there's speed, you're processing language with a ton of background distraction, forcing you to rely on that procedural memory.
How does the role play help with that pressure?
By breaking it down into a simple, predictable paddle. The server will almost always start with, would you like a table for one or two?
And your response should be automatic.
Table for one, please. Just direct. Then when they come back, you have your order ready and clear. Could I have the spaghetti carbonara, please? And a glass of water.
Okay, but what about the complex stuff? What if you have a question or an allergy? That feels way less predictable.
That's where the analysis comes in. You have to integrate those high-stakes questions into your practice. Before you practice the main order 5 times, you practice the clarifying phrases.
An example.
Things like, are there any gluten-free options? Or, what are the soup specials today? Repeating these phrases, again, at least 5 times, changing the details each time, makes that complex language just as available as the simple stuff.
That idea of anticipating the clarification seems like a major insight. Okay, let's move to step 4. Booking a hotel room. Essentially for travel, and often involves more formal, polite language.
A classic scenario. Here, clarity and confirmation are everything. The key exchange usually starts with confirming your booking. I have a reservation under the name Ahmad.
And then you have to be ready for their follow-up questions.
Which are almost always the same. How many nights will you be staying? And would you like a single or double room?
But, my experience says smooth check-ins are not always a given. What happens when something goes wrong? Like, the reservation is lost.
And that is the exact question the role play must address. If you only practice the smooth scenario, you will freeze the second the receptionist says, I'm sorry, I can't seem to find that name.
So you have to practice the crisis language, too.
You have to practice negotiation. Could you double check, please? Is there a manager I could speak to? Or even, is there another hotel available nearby? You have to practice with a conflict detail.
A conflict detail.
Yeah, you add something to the scenario. Maybe you need a late checkout, or there's a problem with the room. It forces you to use polite objection and request language, which makes you so much more adaptable.
Okay, finally in this section, step 5. Bank and money conversations. This is an intimidating one for a lot of people. The terminology feels so specialized.
It does, but we have to demystify it. The setting is formal, but the core transactions are simple. You start with direct opening phrase, I'd like to open a savings account.
Or, I need to exchange some currency.
Right, and you have to be ready for the non-negotiable response, which is almost always, can I see your ID and proof of address?
Once that initial bit is done, what are the specific things you should practice?
Focus on the functional language around documents and timing. Things like, what is the monthly fee for this service? Or understanding when they say, it should arrive within 5 to 7 business days.
So digging deeper than just the transaction itself.
Exactly. Add specific questions about other services, interest rates, online banking, withdrawal limits. It turns a simple transaction into a whole conversation about managing your finances.
That's excellent. We've covered these stationary interactions. Now we're moving into section 3, which is about movement and communication challenges. Let's start with the step 6, transportation.
Right, and the time pressure here can really spike the anxiety level.
The goal here is just concise, effective communication under stress.
That's it. We focus on asking for a taxi or finding a route. The dialogue has to be immediate and direct. Excuse me, can you take me to Central Station?
And the driver's response, that often introduces variables that you have to process really quickly.
Exactly. They might say, do you want me to take the fastest route or the one with less traffic? Or it'll be about 20 minutes depending on rush hour.
So what's the actionable tip for practicing this?
This one is crucial. It's not just practicing the dialogue 5 times. It's practicing it in your mind while you're physically walking around your own neighborhood.
Why is practicing while walking so effective?
It triggers spatial association. You're linking the physical movement and the visual cues, the street corners, the local landmarks with the English phrases. It grounds the language in your reality, making it concrete and easy to retrieve when you're stressed out in a real travel situation.
That's a fantastic tip. It really bridges that gap from theory to practice. Okay, step 7, phone conversations. This one is tricky because there's absolutely no body language.
None. And that lack of nonverbal cues means you have to hyper-train your listening skills. If you mishear a time or a date, the consequences are real.
So role-playing here is basically essential for auditory training.
Absolutely. Let's focus on the appointment dialogue, since that's a universal need.
Okay.
The exchange starts simply. I'd like to make an appointment with Dr. Smith. Then you practice the back and forth about timing this Friday if available.
Or maybe next Tuesday morning.
And the crucial part is internalizing the closing instructions, which you have to repeat back to confirm. So you're booked for 3 p.m. on Friday, and I should arrive 10 minutes early. You must practice repeating those details clearly.
And the sources suggest an advanced practice for this one.
They do, and it tackles auditory error head-on. The key is self-correction. You record yourself doing the dialogue, playing both parts, and then you listen back, critically.
And what are you listening for?
Where did you stumble? Was your pronunciation unclear? Did you miss a detail because you were mentally translating? By recording and correcting, you train your mouth and your ear, and you should vary it. Book an appointment with a doctor, a dentist, a repair service.
Okay, we've covered 7 critical scenarios. Let's move to the final step, step 8. Implementing a daily fluency strategy. Because as you said, this can't be a weekend project.
No, it has to be a consistent daily routine to really integrate it into your procedural memory.
So we need a framework to weave all this practice into a normal day.
That's right. The source material outlines a really potent 4-part daily routine built around your existing schedule.
Walk us through that framework. How does it work?
Okay, so in the morning, the advice is to use self-talk while you're making breakfast or getting ready. Just repeat simple sentences aloud describing what you're doing.
Like, I am pouring the coffee.
I am putting on my shoes. It just warms up your vocal cords and gets your brain processing English first thing in the morning.
And then during the day?
During the daytime, you practice those core dialogues we talked about. Introductions, shopping, transportation, while you're commuting or running errands, in your head or quietly to yourself.
Okay, so moving into the evening, how do we consolidate all that?
In the evening, the recommendation is to watch a short English clip, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and immediately repeat the phrases you hear. It's called shadowing. It's great for intonation.
And then the active practice.
Then you dedicate 10 to 15 minutes to actively run through those role plays, cycling through the scenarios we've discussed.
And before bed, the final step.
At night, this is the vital self-assessment loop. Record yourself describing your day, what you did, what you said, where you struggled. Then listen back, identify the weak spots, and try saying it again, but better.
That immediate feedback loop has to be the most efficient way to fix those persistent errors.
It really is.
So what's the core philosophy tying all of this together? What's the main takeaway for the learner?
It is all about consistency over perfection. You are not trying to eliminate mistakes. You're trying to reduce hesitation. That's the key. By treating this like muscle memory training, you finally stop translating and you just start speaking. You know, if we boil this whole deep dive down, the main insight is this. True fluency isn't about knowing more words, more complex vocabulary.
It's about using the words you already have.
It's about using the high-frequency words you already know, but automatically in the right context. That's what makes English finally feel like second nature.
Which brings us to the action plan, the final audience challenge from the material, the 7-day fluency plan. We really want you, the listener, to take action on this tonight.
So for the next 7 days, commit to this exact plan.
First, pick just 2 role-play scenarios from today. Maybe simple introductions and restaurant ordering. They're common, they're pretty low stakes.
Good choices. Second, you have to repeat them 3 times a day.
Third, and you said this is crucial for adaptability swap roles every single time. Be the server, then the customer. Be the guest, then the receptionist.
Fourth, commit to recording yourself at least once a day and listening back. Check your pace, your clarity, your intonation. Be your own coach.
And fifth, and this is the big one, apply the phrases in real life. Even if you're not in an English-speaking country, try to use them.
You can use them with family, with friends who know you're practicing. You can even say the English script in your head right before you order food in your native language, just to make that connection.
That's a great idea.
Look, if you can confidently navigate these specific situations, shopping, dining, banking, it massively reduces your overall anxiety. It frees up so much mental energy that was just being wasted on translation.
And if speaking in these foundational areas starts to feel smooth, starts to feel effortless,
it raises a really important question for you, the listener. What else in your personal or professional life will that new foundational confidence allow you to tackle next?
If you learned even one useful thing today, then imagine what will happen when you learn every day with us.
So here's what we want you to do right now. Tap subscribe, turn on the bell icon, and join our speaking family.
Because every day, we share practical English lessons that help you speak clearly, confidently, and naturally. In real life, not just in the classroom.
And we have one request. Don't just watch these lessons. Use them in your daily life. Every sentence you speak is a step toward your fluent future.
So, hit like, leave a comment with one new habit you will start today. And share this video with someone who wants to improve English. Because learning becomes even more fun when you do it together.
This is your moment. This is your journey. Let's grow your English every single day. See you in the next lesson. Keep speaking, keep shining.